Hey there, hope you guys are doing well today, and we're going to talk about the James River and days 2 and 3. So, after day 1, I was sitting in first place, had 21 pounds, I think 3 ounces, was in really good shape. So then day 2, we went out there again and caught another good bag. We had another 15 pounds. I pulled up to my first area, and it was my primary area on day 1 that I caught probably about 15 pounds off of as well. But the kicker came from another area that we'll talk about later. But I pulled in there. The tide was a little bit later this day. So first day, 9:30 was low. Day 2, it was about 10:30, and then day 3 it was 11:30 or so. So the tide was kind of going away from me. So I knew this. My best bite was during that low tide. The last 2 hours or so, and then the first hour incoming was pretty good too. But I was running down to the Chickahominy. I was fishing down there. I was fishing these little feeder creeks, which was the key to getting those better bites. So when I got there, I started throwing that wacky rig on day 2, or the Nico rig, I should say. And this is my setup. We'll go over this entire setup here in detail here soon. But on day 2, my first fish of the day, I'm fishing around, throwing it on this current break. There's a little point that came out there, and I'm floating it by as the tide's coming out and just letting it drift real naturally. And this last tack here, super stretchy, also very buoyant. So I have to put a Nico Shrooms head in there. So that's this little nail weight that goes in here made by Z-Man. I'm using a Hayabusa hook. This is a FPP straight 2.0, just a straight shanked hook that I did a little modifications on, but I'll go over all that. But we'll talk about the first two, or days 2 and 3 first. I was using this and I caught a 590, just a real big one. If you go to Major League Fishing's website, you can see the fish catch. It was really cool. The fish was a big one. It was jumping all around. It was a good one to catch on a spinning rod for sure. So we caught that one, and then I caught 3 more in that area, and I left there around that 10:30 mark, which was low tide. And I had some areas I wanted to go hit on low tide, some hard cover. I wasn't doing until 4:30 this day, so it was a really long day. I was an early boat, 15 I think on day 1, so they flopped the field. That's how I got my longer day 2. But I left there with a 590, had 3 other keepers. I pulled up to this spot that I caught a 6.6 on day 1, just a giant flipping, and I went in there and flipped a jig in there. And again, I caught another good one. It was another keeper. It was like a 2.5, 2 3/4, something like that. And then I went to another duck blind, and another duck blind, another duck blind. And I ended up catching 4 fish off 6 dunk blinds. So there was only 2 of them that didn't have one on it. And then I ran some other ones, and as I was getting up there in the water, it was starting to get up a little bit. So I wanted to go hit this little bit of, there were some laydowns and some wood that were underwater. And I was fishing a drop shot on those. And I went up there, fished through it, had a couple bites that cold me up a little bit. Lost one that was a big one. If you guys watched the live coverage, you saw me. I hooked it in the front. I started walking it around. I thought it was a catfish when I first had it hooked, and then all of a sudden I felt it just do that big head shakes, like a big largemouth does. Got it back to this like back corner of my boat here where we're kind of shooting off of, and all of a sudden it came up. Never jumped, but it just opened its mouth and rolled sideways. And when it did that, my drop shot hook pulled out, unfortunately. But it was a big one. It might not have been the 590 I already had in the box, but it wasn't far off. So that is what it is. It's part of fishing. You're going to catch some, you're going to lose some, especially when you're getting those real big ones down there on the James River. And after that, we called up a couple more times. I had 15 and change on day 2, so I was in first place again. I was jacked up about that. And going into day 3, I knew I needed 12 pounds guaranteed I was going to make it. I felt like 11 most likely. 10 was going to make and other than that, I thought I was going to need some more weight. So day 3, go out there. Like we were talking about, that tide, it was going to be 11:30, it was going to be low. So at this point, it was getting away from me, but I had a decision to make. I either had to start on that area that I've been doing the last 2 mornings. I caught that giant one on day 2, and I caught a 15-pound limit on day 1, throwing that swim jig with that Z-Man Heller crawl on it. And I decided that was what I was going to do. I could live with myself if I went there and I didn't catch them. But if I didn't go there and I tried to get on it later in the day and there's a competitor on there, I don't think I could have lived with myself with that. So I decided to start there, and actually things worked out pretty good. First thing in the morning, I was getting a lot of bites, even on that higher tide. The tide was coming out, but the water was still up 1.5 feet higher than it needed to be. I was taking this same Z-Man Z-Man bang stick with that Nico rig in it, and floating it around. And I had a limit in the first probably hour and a half when I truly didn't expect to get any bites. And then I got some more bites once the tide really started getting lower, but unfortunately they shrunk up on me a little bit. And I don't know the true reason behind that, other than I know the water cleared up a lot from day one. So that's why I kind of killed that little bit of swim jig bite I had going. I caught one, my big one of day 3, which was only at 190, but that was on a Z-Man Jackhammer across one of those current breaks back in that little creek. And then I fished through there until about 11:30. Then I went to go hit some of those duck blinds I hit the day before I was telling you about. And I got to them, and the wind was ripping. It was rolling probably 1.5 feet chop into them, and it's only 2-3 foot deep. So it had them blown out. They weren't any good. At this point, I had to make a decision. Do I go back to where I just was, or do I go to a whole different creek, running back up the James River towards the takeoff? And at this point, I had to be in at 2:30, so I didn't have a ton of time. The other option was go to the top of the Chick and go see what I could do up there, where I had lost that big one the day before, and I had a couple other bites. But my feeling was I knew there was a lot of tournament pressure up there the first 2 days. I didn't want to go up there because of that. So I was like, let's go to this other creek. I had a lot of bites there in practice. There were solid, a lot of 2-pounders. Occasionally I'd get like a 3, and I shook a lot off in there. So I went there. Right away, I started catching them on a drop shot, this Nico rig, the swim jig. It didn't matter what I was doing. The tide was low. It had them all sucked out to the edge of the grass lines. And unfortunately, it was just, I called probably 4 or 5 times, but it ended up going from 8 pounds to 9 pounds and all that. So they were just 1/10 of a pound here, 1/4 pound there, just not enough. And when I was checking my scale in my boat, I had 9 pounds, which I knew it wasn't going to be enough. I really had to hit that 10-pound mark. So at this point, the last hour and a half of the day before I had to make the run back to Osborne Landing, way up to James, which was about a 35 to 40 minute run. I had 9 pounds. I ran up there, checked in, weighed in, and I knew it was going to be super close. I started watching the weights. I weighed in probably first third of the 50 guys, and maybe around 15 or so. And I was watching, and I knew John Cox had him, and he was weighing in like really late. Cole, I think it was Hewitt, was one other guy. Didn't know what he had. And at this point, I was sitting in like 8th place. I had gotten knocked down a couple spots. Really just needed to sneak into that top 10, because that was what was going to make me get the fish day 4. The weights were going to reset. And unfortunately, both of those guys caught them. And I ended up coming in 11th place, missing the cut by, I believe it was 6 ounces. So just narrowly missed it. I didn't even need the full 10 pounds, I thought. I weighed in 814. I don't know if somebody spit something up in the scale or in my live well or something. My scale might have just been a little bit off. Within 2 ounces, it's pretty darn close. So I was happy with that part of it. But it was a really good overall week. Caught a lot of fish. James River, it's got them. I never realized it had them like it does, but I really hope we go back there at some point and get to fish it again, because it was fun. But let's go over this Nico rig setup. Like I said, this is a Z-Man. This is a bang stick. So this one's pretty cool. Made of Lastec, super stretchy. You don't need a O-ring because of that. You can see here we got our Hayabusa FPP straight shank hook. I hook it right in the middle. You can see there's like that little egg sac sort of deal. I hook right above it, so it's almost directly in the middle of the bait. I like this guy because he's got a little bit of these little appendages up here, so when it sinks, it'll land. Lastec stands straight up, and you just gotta make sure when you have your hook there, you want that hook like that angle. So keep your line semi-tight once you have a hold of that on the bottom. That way when you hook them, it hooks them straight in the roof of the mouth. That peg them every time. It's a Nico Shrooms weight. Let me pull that out real quick. You can see here, it's got these little barbs on there. You just slide it right in, and it goes just like so. You slide it. Being Elastic, it's a little bit tricky to get it in there first. Just make sure you push it in, get it as straight as possible, push it extra far, and then it butts right up like that. Nice and clean. The color I was using this week, as that water started to clear, it's called California Crawl. It's got this like little bit of like a watermelon-y color on the bottom. It's got a darker green pumpkin on the top, bunch of red and black flake in there. Very good color for clear water. That's one of my go-tos I'm always using. The rod setup is a favorite Hex. It is a really awesome rod. It's a 721, so it's 7 foot 2 inches. It's a medium heavy, and you need that for fighting those real big ones. You hook them, you don't want them to have control of you. You want to have control of them. The reel is a 2500 favorite rush, and on that I have 15-pound Seaguar Smackdown braid. This is flash green, so it helped me kind of pay attention to when I was drifting that, I'd see my line hop a lot of times and know I got that bite. I'm connecting that with a crazy Alberto knot here to Seaguar Gold Label. It's 10 pound. That's fluorocarbon. It's super clear, super thin, really strong. It's invisible to the fish. So that helps you get some extra bites. And I do a little bit of a modification to this Hayabusa hook. It's a FPP straight 2.0 like we were talking about, but it usually has a little monofilament guard on there to hold your weight, or hold your bait if you're Texas rigging it. So I actually cut that off, and then there's 2 little barbs, and I'll smash them down with a pair of pliers, and it makes it super streamlined. That way, if there's any algae or any kind of grass on the bottom, it's just one less thing for it to get caught on. So that's kind of my setup. This was my key for days 2 and 3. Like I said, unfortunately, we didn't make day 4, but we got awesome points. We jumped from 28th in the point standings up to 14th. We got 1 left on Lake Champlain. So as long as I have a just decent finish there, don't break down or don't make it back or whatever, I should be in for the St. Lawrence Championship, which is what this year's been all about. That title championship up there, it's got me licking my chops. I really, really like that place. I can't wait to get back up there and go chase some of those fish. So that's kind of what we have going on. The Champlain is at the end of end of July. So we got a little time off. I'm gonna fish the Bass Open up on Oneida between now and then. I got a kids youth fishing derby coming up this weekend on June 26th. So that's full. We got 55 kids coming. I got a pile of sponsored products to give away. Goodie bags for all the kids. Got awesome prizes. We got rods, we got reels, we got coolers, grills, you name it, we got it. It's gonna be a good time. Some kids are gonna walk away with some good prizes there. We got tackle boxes and everything. So I'm looking forward to that. If you guys have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments below. Share this with your friends, subscribe, do all the good stuff. And hope you guys have a great day. See you later.